That's okay. Oh, wow. Why is my game lagging? Holy moly.
We're holding for deployment. Now's a good time to warm up. Battle Royale. Avoid the gas. Get to the safe zone.
My controls are so backwards right now.
All right, lads, let's get it done.
Come on, man.
Fly box location. Move to secure.
Not even set up. I hate when people rush into a game. Hold on, guys.
Win here and you return to the
Oh, damn, already? Like, I don't even get a break.
Time to earn your freedom, soldier. I'm taking fire!
Whatever. Wow!
Taking fire!
That aim assist is ridiculous, though.
Not over yet. Your team can still play the lead.
I can't do it. I can't do this, guys. I gotta go back on PC. I can't do controller.
Here, there is a helicopter.
I just can't. I try, but I can't. I'm gonna...
I will back.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to try to do this again. Oh, I have to try to do this.
I'm moving.
Let me see what's going on here.
Come, I can fly.
It's dead anyway. We'll just keep the camera off for now. Alright, we'll see. Oh.
Vendor here if you need equipment.
The heck? It's not on or what?
Body armor here.
We are inside the circle. Get ready for incoming.
Mark out. I'm
Why
going.
is this not working?
Being tracked by an enemy team. Stay sharp.
Oh god. Let me hide here for a second, guys. Doesn't look like that. Appreciate it. Yeah, give me a second. Oh, thanks. Oh shoot, this is all foreign to me, bro. How the hell do I use? Oh, Y? Oh,
Pistol here.
I gotta hold Y. Oh. Oh shoot! Hold on. How do I do this? Oh my god!
was here.
I can't do this, bro. I'm about to go back to PC, bro. I'm trying so hard. I'm so trash with this controller. All right, this. Okay. Gotcha. I don't have the best weapons. Oh, one downstairs. Wait, why is everybody red on the map? Oh, wow. Sweet. Oh, yes, thank goodness.
I'm moving.
Are we still in a circle? Oh, yeah, we're good.
There, moving.
Oh.
Moving up.
Yeah, why am I being hunted?
The enemy lost track of you. You're safe.
Thank goodness, he lost track of me. Jeez, I got mad money for that.
Gas is closing. Get to the new safe zone.
Alright, how do we mark on a controller?
Mark out.
Left.
Going. I'm off this way. Hold. Cancel that.
Oh, okay, okay.
Moving here.
No, that was. Oh.
I have eyes on a care package on my left.
Yep. They're in the red building.
Moving up. Moving up.
Claymore set.
No, not really. Well, just grab me a Corona.
Move that.
Oh, where's he at?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's on the rooftop.
I'm taking fire.
We've got gas moving in.
Yeah, that one's prone really bad or really big. Oh, what? One's still on the roof. Oh. Wow, you don't get much ammo with the... It's gonna be the one, the, northeast.
SMG.
Yep, I got him.
On my way.
He's up there.
See movement.
Move that.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? Wait, why is it down? Don't tell me there's live service issues again. That might have been why I was getting kicked. Alright. Okay. Where you guys at?
Contact.
Oh. Copy that.
Gas is closing. Get
Oh, you're on him. Rooftop.
all right, soldier.
I see. Taking fire.
I got the one on top weekend.
The gulag. If they survive, they can redeploy.
Wait. I see movement.
Yeah, careful. We got people surrounding us too. All right. Oh, weren't we right by a shop thing too?
Going in.
Claymore
Yeah, me neither.
Gas is closing in.
I don't see nothing. Empty? They did?
There, moving.
Hey, Thomas! Good job, guys. Good job. Let's keep it up. Let's keep it going. Let's see what else we got going on here. Nothing much. Okay. It's broken? What happened? What's it doing? Let me take a look at my mobile phone.
Assault rifle. Gas on my left. Assault rifle.
Yeah, it looks like it's running on my end. All right, I got one on me. Be careful. There's gonna be one near me. Oh. It was a rooftop.
Movement!
I can't do this controller, man. I want to so bad. I'm so bad at it. I wish this game was more optimized on Windows, man. Oh yeah. Yeah, just be careful. Downstairs. There's two on the rooftop.
I see movement. I see movement.
Gas is inbound.
Sniper rifle.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Never mind.
okay.
Disregard.
Did you guys find him?
Cash on the ground. Mark out. I'm going.
I'm coming.
I'm going. Mark out. I'm going.
Wow, downstairs. Come on. They're at the bottom of the steps where you guys are. Wow, I'm getting wrecked. Audio commands are broken? Really? Give me a second. Let me see what's going on here. Okay. Alright, Some of them work, some of them don't. That's weird. Alright, try it again.
Only 25 remain.
Whatever you did to fix it right.
Only 10 remain. You're nearly done. Still one of 10 remaining. Yep.
Yeah, no, I was on the Xbox, so I'm about to switch over to PC right now, guys. Bear with me here. We're gonna switch scenes and we'll go ahead and get this set up here real quick. All right. Well, there is a solution. Hold on, guys. Give me a second, okay? Yes. Who's arguing with me? That way I still have my screen. You can control the Xbox. Hold on. Give me a second. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Okay. Whatever I did, I fixed it. That's good. That's good. That's great. That's great. That's great. Oh, let me get my headphones. Oh. All right, let's get this rolling in the show here. Oh, I leave, man. Lead a party. Like, what the heck? Oh, lead a party. There we go. Hey, how's that definitive edition working out for you there? Hey, is it working out pretty good for you, bro? Alright, so we're gonna have a little frozen screen here, guys, so it's all good. Good, man. Working up here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, let's figure this out. Alright, Germ's here. Oh, hey, what's up, Germ? What's up, Anthony? Hey, what's going on, guys? Oh, wait, am I still on the... No, I switched scenes. Okay, I was wondering. I was like, wait, hold up, time out. And bump that down just a notch. I think we're pretty good there for the most part. Alright. Okay. So I did something a little new here, guys. Actually. So I have it to where, like, set up some other VPN for myself for my router. So now anywhere I am, I can like connect to my computer, which is pretty cool. That's gonna be another way for me to play some of my games. That way I don't have to worry about the much with the cloud gaming and stuff. So, but the only problem I've witnessed so far is the audio issues. So I'm working on it and see what, but for the most part, works pretty good. All right, so let me go ahead and get a few things here launched up. Man, launch up and going. Things looking okay here, guys. Everything's looking okay. All right, so how's everybody doing today, though? Hope everybody's doing great. Yeah, Culex, I don't know, man. That was weird. That was very weird. I don't know why that happened. I had to change it, and it seems like the character limit, I was exceeding it, and for some reason it just automatically changed. I don't know why, because I had the name for the longest time, so it's kind of stupid. Probably because they hated me now. They don't want to give me my name back. All right. Did the game really never launched? There we go. Let's go ahead and launch that back up here real quick. Okay, good stuff. Next, I'm gonna have to go ahead and take this out, actually. I think we're in good shape. Alright, yeah, the PC version is nowhere nearly as optimized, but I noticed that even on the Xbox One X, I still had some lag from time to time. Surprisingly, it was weird. Alright, let's go ahead and... What the hell is all this stuff? Stop it. I'm not buying nothing. Let me just click my friend list. Let me join my buddy's game. There we go. Alright, there we go. Now we're looking pretty good. Alright. Alright, sorry about that, bro. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Probably sounds so much better now, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's the high quality studio mic. Nah, just kidding, bro. Man, that last game was making me mad, dude.
Yeah, I was playing like shit too. That last one.
Like I literally did so bad. Like I got lucky with a hang up. Other than that, like I think it's my sensitivity. I need to just do some adjustments. I haven't done any tuning with the controller, and yeah, not happening, dude. I'm like, you know what? Let me switch this, because the headphones I had to constantly push the button on my microphone. It was driving me crazy.
Right.
You're doing great at the Corona outbreak. Yeah, I got scared too, Keelix. I kind of did too. I got scared for a second.
I'm checking it out tomorrow because Mom said that shit is like more scamish than anything because she was looking it up online.
What are you trying to do?
No, I don't want to say tricks.
Oh.
What do you think, baby? You want me to just come down there tomorrow or what?
Yeah, you can come down tomorrow. That's fine.
How long you want me to stay down there for?
Yeah, it
Don't
depends.
say for however long.
Yeah, well, if you want to stay down forever, you can. So however you want, how long you want to go down for?
You can't say forever because I have to come home.
Whatever's next best.
Oh my god.
Got the giggles.
I'm not coming down.
Oh, got a Jay Sean. It's going down, down, down.
Trix is singing in my ear.
Oh God.
Well, let me know.
What's the next best thing to forever?
Yo, Germ, man, I know you was getting on, bro. No, he did. Dang it.
Yeah, Saturday or Sunday. Thought you were moving tomorrow. That's
Yeah.
why I asked there tomorrow to help you move.
Is it running pretty good though, guys? I hope it is. I want to change this up really quick. We're
I
gonna
was
do.
rushing this work shit and everything so I could come help you move. That was like my whole agenda, so you didn't have to do it alone. If you're gonna do it Friday, then I can like actually coast into this work shit and see what happens.
All right, we're gonna try that out. See how that's going. Is this game truly cross-platform? Yes,
On Friday?
it truly is. PlayStation, Xbox, and PC can play together.
Why? Because you're still living there.
So the console players will have to enable crossplay, which will be in your settings.
Bullshit.
So you'll have crossplay right here, and you can toggle it on and off, and that will allow you to play with people or not. PC players can also do the same thing; they can disable it. The only problem about the non-crossplay, like you would think Xbox and PlayStation can still play together because they're both controllers.
That's how
If you turn crossplay off, you're only limited to your platform. So you have to turn it on. So if you do got a buddy on PlayStation, you're on Xbox, you're still gonna have to go against PC players. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The PC players don't really have the ultimate advantage in this game. This game is definitely a console game. Okay, it's console focused. The PC players, yes, still have faster response time or whatnot because of the frame rate and because of the mouse and keyboard. However, the aim assist just
all sore and shit.
it could destroy PC players too. So don't underestimate that aim assist. Make sure you guys keep it on. You know.
I'm telling you, like, these are some shit. These are
Did it do it again? That's it. By now, we would have had a winner by now, Jay. I don't know why it's doing that, guys. That is so weird that it's actually even doing that. So we're really going to have to look into this and see what is going on. So we're going to look. Let me look into my Trixzbot folders and stuff. Where's Trixzbot? Should be here, here. Custom, yeah, right here. Shoot. Okay, slots.
With like no help.
Here's my emails. Here's all the user accounts that signed up for it. So I don't know what's going on here. Where's J13? Right here. J13. There's your okay. Emotes.
I'm talking to the mic too. I'm talking to you in the game.
Yeah, I removed some of the emotes. Wait, hold on a
people.
second.
Not streaming, are you?
What?
Trix,
Oh yeah. What's up?
are you streaming?
Yeah. They hear your wonderful voice.
Are you serious?
Uh-huh.
I'm streaming.
Don't worry about it. Look who's here.
Oh.
Look who's here.
Oh.
Mr. Atari coming in OG on us. This was before Nintendo, PlayStation 64, Xbox, PlayStation.
He's got the right skin because he's a ghost. We never see him.
Oh no, I think his voice went ghost too.
Plug in your mic or unmute it.
Oh.
Sorry.
Probably in an Xbox Live Party chat. I could be a stalker and check.
Yeah, I was about to do the same thing.
Yeah, right. It's just at the click of a button. Oh gosh, what is going on here, guys? Yeah, broke again. It broke again.
That he's not online.
I think it's my. I don't know what's wrong with Trixzbot, man. Guys, I think I'm just gonna remove slots. I feel so bad you guys are wasting your coins on it. I mean, really, it's 25 retro coins. You guys get those easy anyway, but I kind of feel bad, especially if you constantly do it.
Ralph.
You know.
Let me invite him to chat.
Oh, there he is. He's here.
Hey. What's up, buddy?
Not much. Didn't even know you guys were on Call of Duty.
We're on all the time.
I play this War one a lot. I won yesterday, finally.
Really?
We might win this one.
One yet.
Come on, let me success. So we got to change it for Mr. Atari. Let's get a win for him. Let's show him how we get these wins every day.
I only played like 2 or 3 games though.
Yeah, same here.
Played a couple games.
At launch for me, there was server problems. I couldn't play at all. Yo, what is with the?
You see your kills online. Where's he at? I know you gotta be on top. God damn, you've been playing this game a lot. 17,000 and a half kills with almost 17,000 deaths with 1.04.
Wait, who? What?
Jesus, that's Mr. Atari. That's how long he's been playing for.
Oh shoot! How do we view that?
Huh?
Barracks, and then your records. Your kills and multiplayer is 17,545. Your deaths is like 60 under 17,000.
How bad is mine?
Or 1.04. Tricks, you're I bet your KD's 1.27, but you're only at 4,600 kills and 3,600 deaths. Mine's bad. I'm 0.67.
Jeez. Well, I think the KD in this Modern Warfare is so much crap because some of the maps, bro. Like, let's not get started about it.
My KD in this is 1.29.
And let's remember though the exploits when this game first launched. Them damn shotguns, bro. People were sniping with them. I felt like I was playing Rainbow Six campaign.
Oh yeah, you ain't lying. Fuck, I was putting my clothes away.
Yeah. It just looks into the target and never unlocks until they are dead. Well, I don't know if the aim assist is that overpowered, Jay, but you're right. All right, guys, let's do Helix. Thank you. We gotta try this again. Does it have gyro support?
I still gotta go to work.
I don't know.
Oh, you're in Essential.
There are some nice additions you can do.
Operations manufacturing.
So for like controller, you do have some like different like aim response you can do. You got like sensitivity levels. You got some layouts you can do. You got aim assist. You can change some of the way the weapons mount, reload, blah 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 blah. Some of your movement behaviors. But I mean, yeah, I'm not really seeing anything with like gyro support, unfortunately.
Our place still open.
And for that, you just play it on PC and just download a third-party software and just do it that way. Okay, let's get started once again, guys, and let's do this. Okay, showtime. You guys ready? Okay, it's showtime, yo. Lower level, left. Oh, they pulled out for us. Oh gosh. I was trying to let you shoot him, my bad. Woohoo!
Right here.
Yeah, all right. Where we going, boys? Where we dropping?
Military base.
All right, guys, we get ready for that drop off. Let's do it. Wow, the game is actually running good today. Oh my gosh. Surprisingly, the game is running absolutely phenomenal. All right, where we going?
Gas is approaching your position.
To the left. Check on my boxes and my whatever to the left. Where we going? Military base? All right, let's do it. I should switch seats and fly it that way. Right. I'm not seeing anything yet.
This money so we get our loadouts. Let's get our loadouts, guys, and let's fucking
Five
put
ops
it in your
identified.
boots.
Marking location now.
Start a contract. Somebody's shooting over there by you, Atari. Right behind you, toward Trix is facing.
Objective located.
Yeah.
Be advised, there's an enemy team hunting.
Okay.
All right, there's weapons on the other side of the wall, guys.
Kill him.
Yeah, both down.
Straight down or dropped?
No, they're both down. They're dead. They're gone.
Wait. Oh, never mind.
All right, blue chest up top. Who won? Oh gosh, hold on.
Yeah, right here. One's dead. Said, don't kill me. I'm gonna kill you. Someone behind us too, right here. Okay. Killed him. He's all the way dead. Who's down?
Woo!
Oh, there's one right here by
Yeah,
the
another person
garage
here.
door.
Yo, what happened to my weapons?
Got him. Got him. We got the one by the garage door. You could.
Deep
you could
breath,
grab him.
you'll be okay.
Got him.
Shoot! Come on, Mr. Tari, get water!
Yep, guys.
Oh my god! I switched weapons like an idiot.
Found some body armor.
Alright.
Found some body armor.
Yep. That's what we're playing right now, guys. Yeah, the Uzi is super good. Really? Yo, is the Uzi really good in this mode?
Next objective located.
Got some more body armor on me, guys.
You're good. We need him. Where the hell are you at?
Weird. Body armor right here.
Here's a lot of places.
All supply boxes found. Solid work.
What's that scar? Is that a contract?
Munitions left right here.
Get these all loaded up.
Here's some more.
Oh, thank goodness, bro.
Got you guys. I need everybody.
Teamwork, bro. You're just like the Wonder Pets. I like it. What's gonna work?
I'm gonna go get us a loadout real quick. You guys can buy some more armor. I did. Go, got more armor. Alright, guys. I'm coming to you. Stay put. Stay put. Don't go anywhere. Atari, I'm gonna throw something behind you. This is for your loadout.
Loadout drop inbound.
Get one of your loadouts from here. Y'all can get one. Tricks, you too.
Okay. Yeah, well, you do that now after we just got fully reloaded. Yeah, we're gonna lose ammo now. You should have. Yeah.
Bullets. No, you keep it all. I'm
Oh.
Just not on the sniper. The only one that give me this.
Oh gosh, what the hell?
Alright, guys, let's go. You see, I got better at this. Hey, guys, let's get. I don't have a good KD for you were on my Snapchat, Mr. Atari. You would see my game last night.
Oh yeah, we got the SMG. Got the SMG in this. Okay, we're gonna keep it up, guys. Keep it up and rolling.
I got him hooked up in this version too.
Let me get up top.
I won't play multiplayer. This is the only thing I play. Still beating Kakarot too. Breakbeat Doom. Almost done with Final Fantasy 15 for.
Why do you still use a rocket launcher? Yeah, you know what? For regular modes, it was for the regular modes. That's why I need to remove it.
Is it locked down?
Mm-hmm.
Got high ground.
Blah, blah, blah. Oh, what is that? What is that?
Stay away from us. Let's go.
Oh, not right now. Right. We got this, guys. Yeah, Jim. Like I said, bro. Just Oh, what's that? What's that?
How do you ping again?
Up on your D-pad.
On the D-pad.
You gotta chop the top of the D.
You double tap at the mark.
Movement!
There's no movement.
This we got loud.
Helicopter way in the distance. Was shooting in front of us.
All right, so we made it into the circle here, guys. Get the SMG out just in
This
case.
side?
Okay, the gas is right
Wham,
up
right into
there.
the wall.
Found some body armor.
Car. Not in the car, sir. Oh God, behind us. 162 southeast. Direction over here.
Move that!
House over here.
Move that!
Right in front of me.
Target spotted!
Wrecked him. There's two.
I'm over here trying to do the slide. Shoot. We're gonna help the team.
Double kill, my guys. What's up?
Watch a sniper across the map.
Being shot.
Don't kill Lion.
Hey, you see that double kill? I dropped down and banged them both out. Someone else is shooting at me though.
Careful, 2 snipers. Wow, hit me.
What are you streaming on?
Shoot. Oh, I'm everywhere. Yep, pick a choice. Actually, speaking of that, I gotta share the hold on guys. Yeah, give me a second.
Got a couple enemies on the hill.
I don't want no one that can hear and knows me. Shot at southwest.
Got him down. Oh, he's up top behind you guys. Shoot. No! Hell out of here. You ain't good. Shoot me. You better shoot me in my ass. I thought, bro. Shoot me in the back. You know you're good at that. You only knows how to hit it from the back, not from the front.
Man, I could have.
Dang it. I lost everything, man. That sucks, bro. Ugh, how dare they take my stuff like that? You better enjoy it while you can, because I'm coming back for you. I'm not... Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. I do got a Molotov, though.
Time to earn your freedom, soldier.
Good.
Of course, man. Fuck.
Wow! He knew exactly where I was. Straight trash, yo.
I'm dead, man.
Yeah, this dude got lucky, bro.
No, I'm like too busy trying to figure out your chat right now.
Oh, that reminds me, guys.
On there, make sure it's not dead.
Okay, guys, give me a second here.
Coming up, blast both back. In front of you.
Come, are you back, Chico?
No, I'm dead. Get two bites from that thing at mark.
How do you do that?
Go
Very
to
good
it.
thing.
Not that to your right. Go to it. That's on it.
Dude did a melee and then shot me, bro. Straight up aimbot. It is what it is.
Have enough.
You got a hack, bro. You got no life and you that bored and desperate. Like, if it makes you feel better, go for it. Oh, shoot. I am back into the game.
Losing ground.
Seriously, I can't climb through the damn window? Don't give me the RPG. I don't want the RPG, but I ain't got a choice. Oh. Okay. Yeah. I'll take that. I'll take that. Okay. Oh, who? What? Where?
I got my guy.
Careful. Yep. I'm on the loadout now.
So yeah, be careful. I just ran under him. He still got his people with him. No. We don't need a loadout.
Seriously?
We'll save our now.
Oh god, hold on. Switch this with the P90. We ain't got a choice there, right there, guys.
Around here. He just, when I killed him, he said, damn, the whole team ran up.
Right over there.
People?
Yeah, one guy.
Enemy.
Oh, he shot him. I was about to fucking snipe.
Oh, there's...
Damn, I had. Oh shit, I just got shot. Hurt my
I
butt.
think they're shooting back.
You guys are real thugs. Just give you a heads up.
Oh, what the hell?
One sniping, watch it. Tried to...
Broken shield.
Yo, what's up, Solid? Guys, we got our little gold sub VIP up in the chat, guys. Make sure you guys show Solid some love. Can we get a VIP or in caster shut off for Solid there, guys?
God
You
damn.
got another sniper down there.
Big ass open map.
Hit him again. I hit
I
him
see
again.
movement.
There's a sniper. Come on, poke that little head, my guys. Bam, got him. Hit him. Not down yet. Broke one shield. Yeah, that's the
Got one down. One
other
down.
guy's going the other way.
Just
The other
slow
guy's
him down. Alright, one's went too far off the right.
Fuck that. Hit him.
Gas is closing in.
Alright,
Relocate
one's
to the
down.
safe zone.
All right, just be careful.
That's shield. I broke the shield.
Alright,
Fuck.
let's start moving,
Come on,
guys.
guys.
Smoke, the gas is coming.
I'm still chasing this shield's all the way broken though. If I can hit him.
He's running here.
Good aim.
All right, where is he?
Oh shit, the plane's above us. Oh, we're good if not. I don't know, he went toward this helicopter. Probably kept going. Fuck, dude, I was banging him.
I see
Oh, he's
movement.
right there.
Yep, I got him.
He's in the hangar.
Maybe he's just hanging out.
Going this way.
Bro, he's weak. I can't believe I hit him, broke his shield, then hit him again, and he still didn't die. With no shield on a sniper.
And I clipped him twice too while he was running.
Yeah, I seen some blood coming off him too.
Careful, watch the hanger to your left.
Oh, there it is.
Down. Hey man, still one of my kills, my guy.
Just getting you back for that one.
Oh shit, does anybody have AR ammo? AR ammo they're not using? Wait, maybe he does.
Gas is inbound.
Alright. Yeah, I know this map.
Yep, I'm good now. He had a UAV, he
I
never
got
used
you.
it once. I got everything.
Who, me?
UAV for us.
Allied
Found a guy
UAV
killed.
overhead.
Oh,
Okay,
What are you,
we're
how do you use
inside.
ghost streaks
Scan for
again?
movement.
I don't remember. Yo, hey, what's look at that, Thomas. Thanks, bro. You're welcome, and thank you so much. Which mod did that? One of the mods just did that.
It's usually right on
Oh,
the
I got
a time.
I got a weapon drop. You guys
The hell?
Oh, no, we don't need it. I'm
Oh, Jay, thank you, Jay. I appreciate it, bro.
use that like if we don't have our weapons.
Guys, Jay's always in here, man. Jay's always helping out with the commands and stuff, guys. I really appreciate it big time.
Right in front of us. Baby.
Might have to do like different admin ranks and put admins like on probationary trial periods or something. You know.
There's the roof. To see if we can get an angle.
26.
Yo, let's get it in, guys. Come on, go. We're holding it down. We're holding it down. 24 people.
There's one right there.
Okay, I see him.
Gosh. What the?
Shield down. Shield's broken.
I got one. I downed one. Damn, what's up, man? Don't.
Oh, watch a javelin.
Oh, I'm indoors.
Just got out the way of it.
Get up the roof, get up the roof.
Yep.
I got one down. I Damn, I need to shoot him. Fuck, I was letting him shoot.
I'm trying to go around.
I'm right here with you. Got one
Contact.
down, so. Right behind you.
Contact.
Damn, how do you shoot through you to hit me? Alright, I need pick up Trix. Oh. Hurry up, about to die.
Defriend. We'll be okay.
Not on my watch. My man, you gotta keep your head up and your ass down. We talked about this.
Guy.
Fuck.
Watch it. There's someone behind help.
Claymore set.
They're in that building. He arrived his partner.
Where they at?
In the building straight across right here. On the pavement. He's going back.
Oh, he's weak.
There's one outside. There's one outside.
Oh,
Contact.
Chasing one. Got him.
I got another one.
What's up, my guy? What's up, my guy with that javelin? You ain't doing shit. Let's strike two, my guy. Oh, you took my kill again.
what'd you get? Get away from me.
Armor plate. Yeah, there are 9 people left, guys.
Alright, I need some armor. You guys see any anywhere?
Nah, you picked all of it up. You don't have any?
Here, come here.
I don't know.
I thought you picked
I
up.
see
there's one
movement.
right here.
Cancel my last.
Got one.
Oh, just took it.
Oh, here, you take it. No. Stop it. Alright, here you go. I stopped it. Boom, see, look.
Woo.
Thank you.
See?
And we get bonuses at the end of the year, right?
What a pal.
Mm.
Some armor.
Jay, what's going on, bro? How are you, Jay?
Alright.
What up, bro? I see. Okay.
On the top right, it'll tell you how many kills you got.
Contact.
We got a parachuter.
Building. It's on the top right, next to us all.
FAL. Why not? This will be kind of like a sniper, I guess, supposedly, right?
Somebody right across from us. That should have been a fucking headshot. There's 2 up there too. I broke one shield. I gotta reload. Yeah. I downed him.
Safe zone relocated.
Hey, I'm going over there. I downed one. There's 2 up there.
Alright.
Fuck. He should have been dead, man.
Gotta go back up top, guys.
Bro, I fucking downed one and broke the other shield, man. Fuck.
I got you back.
Dead. You're up, hold up. Down him.
He's down.
There's another one. I can do a flash up there. Hit.
So there's 2 down here.
Killed one.
I got one.
Killed the one up top. They downstairs?
I got one. Oh, his partner's in there.
Got his partner.
Heads, guys. Anybody got any armor? Oh, there's one right there.
Gas is closing in.
One's coming in.
We gotta get out of here.
Or wait, never mind. That might be you guys. Hold on. Come here. Mr. Assassin here. All right, enjoy. Mr. Atari, you need armor too.
Yes.
Okay, man. I feel like I'm your supply guy. Oh, we gotta get it. Wall's coming in.
Dorm.
Alright, let's move.
Hey, follow me into this building, and we gotta be quick. We should go stay on the outside though.
Alright, they're sniping.
We're not going inside. Probably people up in this On me. On top, he's in that building. He's on top of that building.
Alright, I'm watching the doorway.
Ow.
They scare me.
Gas is closing. Get to the new safe zone.
I got bombs coming on top of this.
Oh boy.
Claymore set.
I got Claymore behind us. I thought that was a person right there, guys. What the heck? Just can't wait till the 27th. I can't wait. I want to try resistance so bad, guys. I really do.
And we're good. I don't see anybody pushing our way. I'll be right back. If I can make this happen, I'll be a beast. I'll be a legend. Legend!
Car inbound.
Got him. He's dead. Ah! Run! I'm a legend! Let me inside! That was close, guys. Guess what I got,
Inside
guys?
this ring, guys. What?
I got you an armor plate. Hey! I want to boss them real quick. Here, take one.
Claymore set.
Right here.
Found the body armor.
I got you, my guy. There's only 13
Claymore
people
set.
left.
I'm in. Oh, right here, right next to me. Behind the box.
Gas is inbound.
Okay, I've got you.
I got you, bro.
It's outside. Right here outside.
Move that.
Head back up, my guy.
Shoot.
Do get. Hey.
If you're outside the zone, better get moving.
Got him. Whoever's coming. No, let me in.
Claymore set.
Here, watch my 6.
Watch out. I got
Gas
you.
is
I'm
moving
inside the
in.
door.
New safe zone located. You gotta slot this bastard now.
Circle's gonna.
What's coming in?
Oh shit! Someone in here.
Mark control.
Wow.
You had my back.
Victory is on your shoulders. Finish the mission. Stay sharp.
Oh, do you, my guy? You got 4 people left. 3 squads. So 1v1.
Pressure is real, bro.
Stay in the circle, yeah, as best you can. That's how I went last time. Oh, they did not help.
Wow. Stupid call. Bro, why does it get so tiny, bro? Like, really? Wow. I don't like that last minute circle though. That's a no-no for me. At least like get small and then whatever, but like geez, they really try to rush it towards the end. That's too user-friendly, man. Come on. Oh. Yeah, that shouldn't even be a thing, bro. Like I thought it was gonna at least stay small for like a few seconds. Like it just constantly kept going down. Yeah, that's dumb.
Trying to get the hang of it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That was the first time I made it that far, so I didn't know the circle does that.
Second place, we did that.
Right, Jay? Yeah, no problem. Dang it.
We did this together.
I wish I had armor though, man. If I had some armor, I would have been good. But I was.
Is
I got,
Terrier
I got
following
19
you, Trix?
kills. That
I think so. On Mixer, yeah. Tell the devs that, right?
wait, I got 19 kills.
Nice. Wait, how do we know your kills?
Scoreboard. So I'm number 1 on that match for kills.
Did it. Hey, what's up?
Am I looking at the right thing? I don't even know what the
Yeah, Jay, no problem. Here, I'm gonna send you mine.
There's smoke in everybody's in. What are you looking at? How'd you get there?
the match summary after.
They won't listen. Yeah. AAA company like Activision, they're not gonna care about what I got to say.
Shows
They're not gonna care at all.
Wait,
showed
where
2
are you
other
at?
dudes under me that were
How did you get there?
just on the
Okay.
briefing, the match summary. Left trigger.
Keelix, I'm everywhere, bro.
Trigger does nothing for me.
Me, hold on, let me get you guys.
To the after action report.
I'm gonna post this on the social media, guys. I'll get you guys my links. Hold on, give me a second.
Shows you what you unlocked, your contracts, scoreboard, commendations, and on the scoreboard
says
it
us
says
how
I
many
got
games we've played?
19 kills.
I
I
want
don't
to
know
see
if
this
that's
is how many I
most
have.
kills, but it doesn't show anybody else. It's weird. It just it's 2 other
Bullshit.
people, but-
How'd you get there? Don't lie to me.
How many kills you got?
Oh, how do we see this, bro?
7. I know. How did you get there? LT isn't doing nothing for me.
It's got to be in Barracks. Hold on. Records? No.
Oh, like, you know, the aftermatch summary that you can look at. Like,
Oh, I skipped it. Oh. I got mad. I got blown up and mad and rage quit and
not
skipped that
very-
part.
It's just like right on the screen where you guys are like walking. You just hit left trigger there.
I'm hitting left
Should
trigger.
pop
Nothing's
up.
popping
I don't know
up.
why it's not. I don't know. I don't know why it's not.
You're lying to me. Don't want me to know that I did good.
Oh, it's there. I like this calling card.
Yeah. How do you guys see it? Mission boot camp. Hold on. Where the heck is it?
Oh, just so you know, I'm probably not gonna have time to finish this.
No, what?
I'm probably not gonna have time to finish this because I gotta work.
Oh, you're finishing this match. Checked up before you go to work.
Get yourself sorted. We'll be deployed shortly.
Oh, what is wrong with your hands? Got Shotty McHotties.
Why is it like this?
Oh. Okay, I can't see. Changing my teeth.
Where the heck is it, man? There we go.
Alright.
Yeah, I got one more kill.
Playtime's over, mate. You're going to the war zone.
I got someone with the finish.
half the help or something. You guys
Just update it instead of releasing a new one? Yeah. At free game? Wait, which one yesterday? Honestly, I wasn't even on yesterday, Jay. Was it the one on the VIP chat that you posted?
Be advised.
Oh, you're being hunted, Mr. Atari.
Hey, see what you did last game?
Damn.
Bring it on.
Good, slow though. I don't think anybody's over here though. So at least 2.5.
I got a heli. I'm good.
Objectives
Well, then you better get the hell out of here. Oh God, bad pun. All right, I kind of parachute far away, so I'm not gonna have much. I'm gonna land at this castle over here. It's probably dangerous, but
Go pick him up with the helicopter.
yeah.
The helicopter.
Do that. This dude's still.
Right. Oh, spotted.
Oh, you're only living in a hot zone.
eliminate all targets in the AO.
Watch your tricks. They're coming after you.
I can hear it. Right.
Off the back. Off the back. Back. Back.
In a hot zone, boy, bring it!
Oh shit! I'm about to.
Take a boat down. Woo!
Need you some help, man.
Yeah, I got you, bro. Don't worry. See? Mr. Atari comes in late. He's like, "Hey, I got you back." Okay. Yeah, they tried, man. They tried. I ain't gonna lie.
Everybody's dead.
Started going with the bounty on him. He's not letting anybody know where you guys are at.
Oh gosh, what is this? Scar? Yeah, I'll take the Scar because this one has the. All right, let's get out of here, Mr. Atari, because I need weapons.
Alright, here we go. You drive.
Oh, one down there. Run, run, run! Holy shit, gosh! Where'd you get your pilot license? Oh, right. Do I play HC? Wait, what? Oh, be careful, guys. Careful. Oh, be careful. That shotgun is OP. Yo, I like it. It was nice. I can't hear you, dude. Oh, shoot. We're getting shot at.
Anybody just give me money? Trying to get those blown out. Alright, we're good. I need more than 500. I need 1,500.
Safe. You lost the enemy's flag.
Never mind, we're good.
Got it.
Load out the gas is inbound.
Everybody get some armor. Buy some armor. You guys have enough armor. Or let me give you some free money. Here, take this money.
Yo, I don't think we're alone. And I bought some armor.
Sorry, money. Right here. Behind you. Sorry, cash. Never mind, Twitch stole it. Helicopter's about to go kaboom.
Let's switch this out. Go with the sniper. What? Oh, well, in a second. All right, well, hold on. Yeah, wait, test this round. Go! Did you see that you can play DayZ in the mobile Xbox app? Yep. I like that it's free, so I might try it. I don't know, because I don't want to pay for it. Doesn't look like a game I would want to buy. But for free? Oh, God, we're going down! Mayday! I'm not gonna make it! No! Enemy chopper above. Seriously?
You got ammo? Yeah, me too.
Let's loot. I don't have any. I need AR ammo. Get it.
Yeah, me too. I'm all up.
Boxes and stuff.
Where?
All over this building.
Yeah, from what I see, it's pretty punishing. Yeah, kind of like an Escape from Tarkov. Yeah, no problem, Jay. I'll check you out, bro.
Freaking.
Okay, okay. Ooh. Yeah, I'll keep this just in case.
Let's go back up actually and let's jump off the top and parachute somewhere. Safer.
True. Alright, do we have anybody anywhere, guys? I don't know. We're gonna watch ourselves.
I see movement.
Shoot. Alright, guys.
Far as hell away. How are those not hits? Those are perfect shots. I have no sniper ammo. Start searching this building right here.
Oh, guys, I don't think I'm gonna have time to finish.
Left. Takes all your money and stuff.
Huh?
Friendly loadout drop on fire.
You gotta go. You gotta. I'm in the building next door.
Yeah, just drop down. Oh,
Gas is closing.
Way
Get
down.
to the new safe zone.
Damn, we gotta go the other way anyway.
Oh, yeah. Stay alive, guys. Stay alive. Okay. Whew. Alright, where'd you guys jump to? I'm coming.
There, going in.
I'm just running around. Trying to. I don't know what to start.
Body armor.
Got your body armor.
Get those screams in, guys. You should really reload your sniper. Yeah, I probably should, right? Yeah, probably be a good idea.
Making my way to the roof.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh. Where's everybody at? Ooh. Let's be careful here. We got another shop here, guys.
Seek to the marked location and secure the area.
Alright guys, how much is the munition box? 5,000. Come on, Trix, you buy munitions box first and toss it real quick right here.
Okay, okay, okay.
You got ammo right here, Rob.
Vendor here if you need equipment.
Little box right here. Yeah. Well, let's get out of here. People shooting by the yellow flag. Flying drone.
Whoops. Shit.
Yeah, reload mid-fight like I always do. That will destroy me, guys. I really appreciate the support, guys. You guys are awesome. All right, let's keep it up. All right, what do we got? What do we got there? We okay? What the hell is that? You guys want to go on Ferris wheel?
Do you want to go on the Ferris wheel? Boy, we're in war right now.
I do.
That makes it even more exciting. Gotta be spontaneous there.
Exciting.
Yo, this house is not empty. There was a battle here. Over.
Oh shit! No.
Oh, you just be advised.
Oh, Spartan's going down. No.
Primary objective accomplished.
I'm gonna go ahead and go. Oh, 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 oh.
I'm alive. Put my
Made it.
shoes on.
Enemy spotted. Over.
Trying to get my damn shoes.
I see movement.
Oh, gas. Smells like ass.
Ass.
Gas
I
inbound.
got you two
Safe
armies.
zone
Two armies.
relocated.
On me. Buy some more.
Tango spotted outside. Over.
Oh,
good shot.
shit. Get your ass back in here. Get your ass back in here. Take these plates. Take these plates. I dropped them all for you.
Come on, you got me killed. What?
How do we get on?
I'm gonna save you.
Got you?
I'm just gonna turn it off. You don't need to get on. Oh, my son got me killed, yo. Oh my god.
Hold still.
Got you, my guy.
Oh shoot.
Careful, footprints.
You got the time.
Shit, I got one. I'm not.
Oh my gosh. Yo, Zara, what's going on? How are you? Ride a Ferris wheel and shoot everyone. Yeah, that's the way to do it, guys. That's the way to do it.
Watch it.
All right, what's going on there, George? How are you, bro? Holy dear, jeez.
Got him.
Yeah.
We gotta go. We gotta go.
Oh yeah, we gotta go ASAP. A to the sap.
Nice.
All right, got some more armor plates.
Storm. Me too. I got 5 and a cluster strike.
Okay. Come on. Custom assault rifle. Should I switch it? No, I'm gonna stick with my M4 because I like my M4.
All straight running.
Yo, let's keep it up, guys. We gotta get back in there.
Might win this one real quick too.
I get random claymore kills. Who knows?
Maybe we can kill us a second.
Oh no! Jeez.
Got a distance to go. In the back, about to get hit by the stone.
Well, I almost died.
Putting on plates.
Ooh wee! That was close, guys. We almost got taken out there. There's a bunch of farts in the air. Did you guys see? You guys fart so much on the stream that it's in the game right now. Thank you for the follow, guys. Appreciate it. Oh, let's keep this rolling in, guys. We got this.
Iron Man.
Ooh, okay.
You call me Iron Man. That was pretty good.
I got that plate for you.
Plates.
Got that plate for you, bro.
Got the iron plates.
That iron plate.
Oh, watch the left.
Awesome.
I see movement. Contact.
Becca?
Roger.
Which way?
Contact.
Not on my sights. Get down. Get down.
One shield broke all the way.
Falls into the,
Here, Kurt, airstrike. Go inside. Go inside.
Let's go up top, guys. Go up top. I'm going up top.
Marking new safe zone.
I hope it's safe here, though. I might be in big trouble. Who knows?
Got one.
It's a big rooftop.
Yeah.
Ooh wee.
Oh no, did it? I got one over here. He's trying to flank us.
Oh.
Oh, okay, sweetie. I'll plug it in. Thirsty. Oh, sweetie. Oh, you gotta. Can you give me a second?
You're gonna stay thirsty.
Did it armor up again? Almost killed you. It did. It really did.
Your mom doesn't have to work today.
Okay, sweetie. Ask your mom.
Yeah, shoot him on.
Oh! Barely shot your face there, buddy.
Losing ground.
Oh, he freaked out.
I got
I see
another one
movement.
over here. Oh,
I got one up top trying to get a revive.
Alright. One tried to blow me up with an RPG, but failed.
Catch him real quick.
Got another one. Yeah.
Ooh.
You got the one down here?
Yeah. He did.
Ow, 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 ow. Someone shooting at me. Someone shooting at me. Oh, someone buy me. I don't have no money for armor, guys.
I got you. Hold on. Where you at?
Any money? Here, take mine. Take it all, take it all.
No, keep some.
I got a bail.
Alright. Oh, the game's almost over. Ah,
Somebody's camping it. Watch it.
I lit him up.
Fighting's
He's
done.
not
The
dead.
area's cleared out.
I gotta take the place down.
Oh, shit. I'm
Gas
gonna
is
use that
moving in.
thing.
New safe zone located.
Dang it. I wanted to get armor plates too.
I got him, he's there.
Dang it. Ooh.
Airstrike got me. Come on, Trix. Trix, we need revives.
I'm down too.
Oh, you guys are in a wide open.
Got me.
Contact.
Oh, there's a more fucking
Got him.
Damn.
There we go. I'm coming. I'm landing where you guys are.
Got you, bro.
My guy.
Gas is closing in.
Oh, guys.
There's only 10 people left, bro. Come on. Woo.
Oh,
Hold
it's
it.
right there. I'm not gonna be able to make it.
Oh, no.
Gas mask. Oh, gas mask. Give me the gas mask.
Get it.
Didn't work. It didn't give it to me. Oh, I might make it back to the door. Let's go.
Oh, there was 2 by me. Dang it. They were looking at you, Mr. Atari. Wow, it got me with that lucky aim. Look at that. Okay. Got like infinite ammo there. Shoot. It's not? Yeah, there was an issue with it earlier. I was kept getting kicked out of a party. It was weird. It was very weird. Oh. Yeah, I don't see no scoreboard, bro. Where the hell is this scoreboard?
My bad.
You liar!
Man, I was getting ready and shit.
Check too.
I know.
I was trying to get I was trying to get dressed and shit. My bad. I wasn't fully paying attention.
Yeah.
Probably could have done better. My bad. But I gotta get ready for
anyway,
it, guys.
guys.
So.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Tari. Good game, bro.
Gotta go too.
Sir,
Thanks, guys.
we
I'll
definitely
catch you
gotta
later,
get on
Trix.
again, bro.
Let me know again. Fuck
Hey,
you.
yeah, no problem, bro. I got you.
Next 30 days.
All good. Then why are you leaving then?
I mean, I'll get on.
Hey,
All right, catch you later, guys.
All right.
Catch you later, bro.
You too. How long we been live? All right. All right. Let's see. We'll go ahead and do some stream games here real quick, guys. If you guys want to get in, just let me know here real quick. Oops. Actually, I gotta get the queues open. I haven't opened up the queues in a long time. First, we're gonna go ahead and get this one open, right? Man, I got the fan on. I'm freezing now. Don't let you play? You sure you don't have like an additional update or something? Yeah, you might have like another update or something, Jay. You know what? Somebody yesterday that wanted to play. Where the heck is he at? Give me a second, guys. Bum. Oh, yeah. Let me go check on my son real quick. He's been wanting to check something out. Just give me a second. No, we're not gonna worry about this. All right, guys. Give me 1 second. I won't be gone too long. 1 second. Hang tight. Yo, congratulations to the VIP. It gave me an error earlier about connecting to Xbox Live. Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. It did the same thing. It like did something where it said need network or something. Hold on. Okay, guys, sorry about that. All right, let's take a look here. What's going on? Okay, good. All right, wow, why is it doing that? All right, so we're gonna switch scenes here real quick. Give me 1 second here, guys. We're going to do. Where's he? He's not here. He's not here. What the heck? All right, I'm gonna have my son test it real quick, see what's going on. I can't play with this controller. Jay, let me tell you something, bro. I tried, bro, and I was trash. It drives me crazy because of how trashy I was. And you never fall back? Yeah. That's crazy. I don't want to see my son on here. What the heck? Oh, I never added him. No, I could have sworn I did. What's his, I don't even remember what his Xbox gamer tag is. Give me a second here. Gotta try to remember what it was. I seriously don't remember. I don't remember at all. Oh, there he is. He is Fortnite Script 52, but with the capital F. So I think he's already on. He's already on, my friend. Is this in alphabetical order? I don't think so. Well, maybe it is. Oh, there he is. Hey, let's get him in. Jay, did you want to get in, bro? I'm gonna invite Salah, but I think he's doing his own thing right now. I don't wanna interrupt him. All right. You want to try to? Oh, he just left. Okay. Okay. So I could have been playing PC. Yeah. Yeah, I tried, bro. I ain't gonna lie. My first game was on console, and not so good. Not so good. Oh, why did I? Not so good at all, guys. Color sucks. Yeah, I know. It really does, bro. And honestly, there was a big controversy about that. Like during competitions and events, the PC gamers are complaining about the console players with aim assist. And it's not that honestly, if it was up to me, I would say just aim assist should be turned off during the competition, and it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? There's actually people I know that actually turns aim assist off and just play on their own. So that's pretty cool of them. It's really nice. Oh, okay. I got you. I got you. If it comes down to it, bro. Yeah, Jay, I'll get you in here, bro. Let me up to my let me see what happened to him, guys. Give me a second. Be right back. Hold on. Let me know, Jay. I'll go ahead and get you on that. Dang it. Gosh, man. Okay, guys, I spilled my drink. It made me so mad. My triggers suck. Well, that might be why. Yeah, true. All right, guys, bear with me here. Hold on, because I spilled everything. Spilled my drink. Kind of raged a little bit. Had to rush and get some towels. I think we're good now. Oh, thank goodness. Let's take a look here, guys. Alright, man, 2 more hours. Okay, did you guys see some of the new updates that they have going on too right now? Okay. Let's go ahead and get Jay in here real quick. Jay, where the hell are you at? I don't get it. Yeah, man. Let me unplug these headphones. I don't know how long they'll last though. But hold on, guys. There we go. Gotta keep it over here. Ugh. Froze up your game on your PC. Yeah, you know what it sounds like, Jay? Sounds like you need to do like a driver type deal. You might want to uninstall your drivers completely, do a fresh install, and then just make sure your BIOS, your drivers, everything's up to date. Because this game has some massive updates, and if you're not updating your system, it could definitely cause some complications, I would assume. Okay, and then again, even for me, bro, it spikes here and there because of the PC. I don't know. Like right now I'm at like 40-50% CPU, but then this game will jump to like 80-90% sometimes. And obviously that's with OBS open, so I mean, I don't know, that could be a problem, but I don't know, we'll see. Alright, I'm just gonna solo match it. I'm gonna troll solid real quick, watch this. I'm gonna join and leave. Oh, never mind. Never mind, watch speed. I'm gonna join and leave. Watch this. Taking too long to join. I just hope you don't keep getting kicked, bro. Just try. I'll wait a second. Make sure you can get in first before we queue up. I do really like this Warzone though. I honestly, I'm enjoying it. It's got its moments. What game doesn't though? You know what I'm saying? What game is not gonna make a gamer upset, guys? We're never gonna be satisfied. We always want things to go our way, and it never always does. But it's okay. It's all right. It's okay. Oh. All right, Jay. How we looking? Everything look okay? Yo, I'm gonna be on Discord too, man. Discord's much better. I'm gonna plug my headphones back in. I don't want it to die. I need to get me something to snack on. Actually, we don't have to do. Yeah, we'll do Discord. Discord's better. I don't want to be like, because we're probably gonna get stuck with a random. No, we don't have to. I didn't know we could do that. Testing. Seriously, I have to click in and out of the screen? Wow. That's stupid. Oh, I think it's because I gotta run Discord as admin. Let me do that real quick. Let me close Discord. Why are you searching the web? Seriously? Let me do it this way. I'm gonna open this up. I'm gonna go into Discord's file location here. Here we go. We're gonna go ahead and click prop. Oh my dear G. No, I'm not running as admin. This should fix my problems. Now I should be able to do push to talk now. Don't worry about this shenanigans. Yep, it works now. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was kind of annoying. All right, Jay, how we looking, bro? I think we're looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and try to kill it. Do we want to fill? We really need a third, man. I'm about to start unfriending people because half of these people I won't even squad up with anymore. It was like more like when the game first launched, and then everybody just kind of does their own thing now. I didn't get a hold of. Oh my god! Just click the wrong freaking thing. I keep doing this all day. No, I don't want this launched. Oh my god! No, 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 no. Okay, let me do this real quick. Look at my CPU spiking. That's crazy. Hold on, guys. All right, let's see what's going on here, guys. Hold on. Bum 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 bum. All right, let's see what's going on here, guys. Hold on. Bum 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 bum. Chicka booka chicka booka booka chicka booka chicka psh. Huh? Yeah, I'm still live streaming. Hey, what's going on, guys?
Daddy,
Hmm.
you know why I'm playing Rocket League Warzone? It wouldn't let me on the online server.
Oh, it wouldn't it?
Nope.
Jay said the same thing. He said he had the same problem on Xbox. I had an issue where it kicked me a couple times.
It wouldn't let me in at all. I tried joining yours. It made me go log in again, and then it said I couldn't get on.
Wow. Hopefully this is not ongoing. Need to redo this. Man, I'm hungry. Guess I'm not the only one. Jeez.
Daddy,
What?
play Smite or
What? Tomorrow? Yeah, well, I already told you we still got to finish some RE6. Don't worry about it. We got this. All right, guys, I'm going to wait for my third teammate to come in, and then we're going to go ahead and continue on. But in that time, just give me just a moment.
closer.
All right, guys, so we're loading in. Just waiting for our third teammate to get in here real quick, and we're going to go ahead and start it up. Whenever the game decides to let me start it up. Hopefully they're not having Xbox Live issues. I guess we're going to find out, though. The heck? What is good? We got highlights? How do we check these? Oh, you guys can't even see them anyway. Oh yeah, you could.
Catch him real quick.
Got another one.
In a hot zone, boy, bring it!
You know what?
In a hot zone, boy, bring it!
You know what?
I was muted the whole time. Sorry, guys. I'm like multitasking like a son of a gun today, big time. But I know I've been AFK a lot. Okay, I don't know why our third teammate's not being able to get in. I'm gonna test something here real quick.
Yo.
There he is. I don't know if the invites were working. Everything okay?
Yeah, I didn't get one.
Dang, see, the game is being weird today, bro. And then my son was on the Call of Duty. He said he couldn't even connect. It said something about Xbox Live.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's being weird, bro. Being weird. What the hell is that? You watching Scarface?
Nah,
Oh.
just some stuff on Facebook.
Ah, okay. Is it like a bunch of Book of Faces or?
Shit.
Oh, yo, what's up with the Young Daddy, bro? You don't play with him no more? Xbox Live is broken. Yeah, it is.
Played just the other day.
He's so whooped, bro. Don't let him fool you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he whooped, bro. He got more chains on him than Spawn, bro. And that Spawn had quite a bit of chains.
Right.
Honestly, I'm all about that Warzone right now. It's new. I haven't really played much of it. I like it. Actually enjoyed it. It got me irritated a few times, but honestly, bro, been having a good run with it. I like it. It is broken. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. Ooh, Max Payne. That sounds interesting. Max Payne sounds like a really good game. That's a good suggestion. Maybe I'll do like an Xbox or an Xbox, like I can't even talk. Xbox. A Max Payne episode. Jeez. Couldn't even talk, guys. I'm going crazy. Hey, why is it doing that? Hold on. There we go. Yeah, I messed everything up just now. Gotta check out that site for all those vintage games. Wait. Oh, you did send something about that. I'll have to check it out. I'll have to check it out for sure. Oh, where'd everybody go? Ooh. Oh, this is beta. Ah, nice little save. Level 69. Ooh, right? Best level of the game, guys. Gotta just pause and freeze our XP so we don't level up anymore. Yo, what the heck is wrong with... Oh, dear gosh. Oh, this is just a warm-up anyway. Boom, shakalaka. Oh, are there bots in this game though? For real? Like, there better not be. Oh man. Damn, reload already. Jeez. Thank you. Okay.
You're done warming up. Stand by for deployment.
Ah, I tried shooting him. It didn't. Oh, no wonder it didn't count like towards the end, guys. Okay. All right. Well, we gotta win through this, guys. All right, let's do this. Tim, you ready? Go, 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 go!
Battle Royale. Gas is approaching your position. Move to the safe zone. Right, soldier. Mark a drop point for your team.
I'll pass be leader.